It is the dance of democracy. Free beers, discount on burgers, a free bike ride, or even a discount on air tickets. Businesses across urban India, especially in tech capital Bengaluru, they are going all out. They're going out of their way to encourage voters to come out and vote. Some are calling it democracy discount. Is this a marketing gimmick? Is it a sales strategy? Is it the need of the hour? Three of Bangalore's four parliamentary constituencies had less than 55% turnout back in 2019. Even this year, numbers are likely to be similar. We are flashing data that we got for voters who turned up to cast their ballot until 5 o'clock this evening. But what is the question at hand? Urban apathy, is it for real? First, before we get down to the important burning questions around this, let's get you some positive messages on the need to exercise our right to vote.
ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಬನ್ನಿ, ವೋಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ಒಳ್ಳೆಯ ಆಪರ್ಚುನಿಟಿ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮ್ಮ ಡೆಮೋಕ್ರಸಿಗೆ ಮುಂದೆ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾರ್ಯಾರಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಪೂರ್ತಿ ದಿನ.
This is a constitutional right given in a democracy to be exercised by every citizen above a certain age. Therefore, we should all be enthusiastic, energetic and very positive to come to the voting booth.
Well, some positive voices coming through today, and to be able to discuss the implications of the issue at hand. We were talking about democracy discounts that are being doled out. Brand Guru Sunil Alagh is joining us along with a voice that represents the urban voter. Prabal Basu Roy is with us, who incidentally cast his vote too in Bengaluru today. And with them, we have veteran journalist Madhavan Narayanan. Welcome to India Tonight, gentlemen. Sunil Alagh, I'll come to you first. Do tell us, what do you make of these democracy discounts that are being doled out, in a sense, to lure inked voters, whether it's in flights, in restaurants, in the hospitality sector, in healthcare even? Do you see this as a marketing gimmick, or are we creating a culture where voters need inducements of this kind to cast their vote and exercise their franchise today?
Initially, I would say that maybe for the first time they are putting in inducements or something. Once people, they are trying to aim at voters who are getting in for the first time, not aiming at people who are voting in any case. So if you're talking about 18 plus 21 or 18 to 21 years old, they are trying to get voters in. Maybe once they get used to voting, they will not need these inducements. And the government hasn't forced anybody in restaurants and all to do it, but they are doing it on their own to get both people to vote as well as they're getting customers in.
Let me bring in Madhavan Narayanan in this discussion as well. In phase one, Madhavan Narayanan, we've seen voter turnout drop compared to the previous polls. Sure, there are factors at play like heat wave, like weaker election campaigns as well, some would say. But do you sense a certain amount of voter apathy this time around in the general elections? What do you put it down to?
Well, I think it varies from constituency to constituency,
right,
from state to state. Heat wave may be a factor, but honestly, that is not really the issue. There are political ways to interpret turnouts, although the interpretation can vary from extremes. For instance, historically, a high turnout meant anti-incumbency, especially in situations like the post-emergency elections, in which there was a broad consensus in favor of, defeating the Congress which had imposed the emergency. But on the other hand, a low turnout, it can be a sign of not anti-incumbency as, I wouldn't call it apathy, I would call it an indifference, because if they feel that the change is going to be neither positive nor negative, there is a tendency towards, indifference. But it's also important to remember now, I saw it first in the first phase of elections particularly, that urban constituencies tend to have lower turnouts. South Chennai, for instance, had one of the lowest turnouts, and so did, South Bombay is famous for that already. So typically, certain kinds of middle class voters tend to avoid elections because they feel that they're not financially powerful enough to fund political parties. They are not vote-wise constituting a big vote bank to make a difference. So they end up being a little indifferent. There's a certain middle-class indifference. However, I must say that the kind of incentives that you spoke about, discounts and all that, personally, I think it's only a gimmick because marketers have a way of linking everything that is happening around them for as opportunities for promotion. And as you know, democracy is often, elections are often called the festival of democracy. So this is for them something like a Diwali or a, Holi or a Dussehra or an Eid. So that is one thing. But I think it's important to remember that turnouts are increasingly improving. Maybe we should thank the gimmicks
Yes.
that the sections of the population, particularly I saw in Bangalore today,
Yes.
that urban middle class people were boasting about having gone to vote, which is a way of saying, look, we are not as cynical as you think.
Not as
So,
cynical, not as apathetic as sometimes they are painted out to be. Let's get a voice. An urban voter himself, Prabal Basu Roy, is joining us as well. There is a point being made by Madhavan Narayanan that this kind of phenomenon, and perhaps we can kind of connect it with the inducements that are going out. We're talking about discounts on food, flights, hotels, to free full-body checkups as well in hospitals, these offers at amusement parks, salons. Today, a voter has a large array of goodies waiting on the other side of casting their ballot. Are elections good for business then, according to you, especially the service sector? And is this something that is required for the urban voter? Prabal Roy.
Well, Vikram, first things first, in the era we live in, it's an era of frivolity all around. And even more so when, politicians are peddling utter drivel in election speeches, which have absolutely no impact on our lives getting substantially better. So what else can one hope for? As far as marketers are concerned, they see an opportunity and do these inducements. But I mean, as far as elections are concerned, it has serious ramifications, like in 2014 or 2004 for that matter. And the young voter who's the target of these inducements, and perhaps their older counterparts too, are now, caught in a vortex of structured misinformation and polarized viewpoints as never before, primarily due to WhatsApp, every uncle and auntie of RWAs have and believe to be the gospel truth. So what is needed is political education for the thoughtful exercise of one's franchise and not incentives of these nature. Of course, it's for entrepreneurs, it's good because it will get feet on, it will get people into the hotels and airlines. But we are really trivializing everything. That is the fear which I have at this phase. Yeah.
Roy, Sunil Alagh, do weigh in on this. He's saying that this is perhaps good for businesses, but not so much for democracy to have these kind of incentives for voters. What's your line of thinking in terms of businesses, in terms of brand building? How does the alignment of a brand with the biggest dance of democracy, this festival of democracy that Madhavan Narayanan has just alluded to, how does this help it grow?
Look, I mean, I think it's not a gimmick at all. It's marketing people who see an opportunity to do it at this point of time, and they are doing it. And therefore, to call it a gimmick, it's like saying in the Holi festival or in Diwali festival, when people reduce sales or offer incentives for people to buy their products. It's not a gimmick at all. But I think initially it is to induce young voters to come in and vote. And if others want to take advantage of it, the older lot take advantage of it, fine. Otherwise, they would have voted in any case. But the younger generation today is perhaps not, many of them don't even know at the age of 18 they can go and vote, whether it's urban or whether it's rural. But if they do get an opportunity and if they do get an inducement, they will go out and vote for the person they want. Nobody is interested in asking you to vote for a particular party or a particular person. They are asking people to go out and vote. How do you get initially? Once, maybe in another 5 years' time, the people will have understood and they will have gone out and voted themselves. But I don't think it's a gimmick at all. But what the hell? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's really taking advantage of a situation and getting the youngsters to come out and vote. They are
Mr.
not telling
Narayanan, would
them
you
who to
concede
vote
what
for.
Sunil Alagh is saying, that this is not so much a gimmick? Perhaps it does attract the younger voter. Air India Express, for one, giving first-time voters who are aged between 18 and 22 a 19% discount on both domestic and international flight tickets for travelling to their home constituencies and back. Do you reckon that the Gen Z voters will need this kind of lure more than others to get them to cast their first-time votes in life? And what does that indicate? This culture of discounts for the future of democracy, a democracy that is known for its demographic dividend.
First of all, let me say that I don't like the word inducement in this case. That's a very harsh word. Incentive may be a good word, and there's nothing wrong with incentives. Incentives do not amount to unfair practices. As for what Sunil Alagh said, well, Sunil is a very seasoned professional marketer whose career I have followed for 30 years. So I completely, understand where a marketer comes from. I perhaps may not, you use the word gimmick and I don't necessarily disagree with it, but let's use the word like, I use the word like promotion. It's important to understand that marketers like their brands to be visible. Big events like elections and festivals give them an opportunity. But most important of all right now, Vikram, is that India is going through a phase, in fact, it's worldwide. Youngsters are increasingly more prone to favor brands that are ethical, follow fair play practices, and also are environmentally conscious. There is a social responsibility angle to brands. And as you know, Tata Tea was one of the brands that actually, apart from doing, they had a Jago India campaign in which youngsters were exhorted to take part in features like elections. So other brands have caught on to this. And I would say that this adds a positive shine to the brands, apart from the sales that might, happen because of these discounts. So you could consider these discounts as not so much for sales as for marketing purposes. And yes, we can always quibble day in and out on whether it's a gimmick or it's a promotion or it's a social consciousness of a brand. Maybe it's a mix of all three.
Right. So social consciousness could also be one of the reasons for better brand building. So whether you call it inducements or not, perhaps a little too harsh, it's incentives, it's a promotional kind of activity that's happening during a festival of democracy this time. But it's still, I'm looking at the kind of numbers that have come in until 5 o'clock this evening for Bengaluru South, in terms of voter turnout, has registered around 49.3%. North, a little more than 50%, Central 48.6%, and rural is about 61 to 62% until 5 o'clock this evening. But the important part is that the urban is still below 55% like last time. So whether or not this really helps is still the larger question. But ultimately, with this kind of move, the question is, who is the biggest winner? Is it the voter? Is it businesses that offer these discounts? Is it democracy? I'll take quick takes from all of my guests, starting with you, Sunil Alagh.
I'm concerned no matter who is the winner.
Yes.
Look, all three are winners. All three are winners in this. The important thing is maybe in another 5 years' time, when the people of education are little more educated, you'll find that they come out and vote on their own. Maybe this is the opportunity that brands have felt and they have taken advantage of it. Maybe 5 years down the road, there might be another opportunity. And then between these 5 years, there might even be more. So as far as I'm concerned, all three are winners. And if you induce people to come out and vote and you don't encourage them to vote for a particular party or a particular person, I think it's a great win-win for all.
Prabal Basu, what do you think? Is it the voter? Is it businesses/brands that offer these discounts? Is it democracy at large? Who is the ultimate winner here?
Well, it's the answer lies in what you just said a couple of minutes ago. The Bangalore urban constituencies is roughly at about 49 to 50% versus 55% or 54% last time. So the fact that these incentives have worked or not, the answer should be obvious, right? Of course, entrepreneurs know how to increase the business by way of, innovative, sometimes hilarious means. Or innovations of this nature will help, and they'll get some more customers than what they would normally have. So it's actually a non-event in my view.
Journalists to have the final word on this subject. Madhavan Narayanan, what's your take?
Yeah, my take is very simple. I think I'm sad about Bangalore's low turnout. It goes to show that we need more than the kind of discounts that we are hearing about. In fact, there used to be the joke that in South Mumbai, people need valet parking at polling stations to actually vote. But jokes apart, what I really like about this whole process is that the country is a winner because the more the turnout, the more the sense of participation, the more the awareness of the need to participation, it is good for democracy and the country. But most important of all, I would like to mention something that has not been mentioned today, which is that it's a delightful sight to see rich, poor, film stars and middle-class people standing in the same queue. That sends a message of democracy across in a powerful visual across the country, so that the less privileged feel a sense of empowerment and equality, which I think is the biggest thing that we really need in India today.
Yes, indeed. Not to be facetious, but whether it's going to take more than discounts to lure the South Mumbai electorate to come out and vote remains an important ask. We are talking about the financial capital of the country, and whether or not they require valet parking or not is going to be an important watch for all of us as democracy grows and thrives and becomes bigger and stronger. We are watching every move on this. Sunil Alagh, Madhavan Narayanan, Prabal Basu Roy, thank you very much for joining us with your perspective on this edition of India Tonight.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.